Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed that tariffs imposed on US imports are paid by the exporting country, such as China or Mexico. This assertion is fundamentally incorrect. In reality, it's US importers, usually American companies, that will pay the tariffs when goods arrive at US borders. While there are rare circumstances where foreign exporters might absorb some of the cost, this isn't the norm, and it does depend on specific market dynamics. A tariff is essentially a tax levied on imported goods. When a product crosses into the US, the importer, usually an American business, must pay the tariff to US Customs and Border Protection. The tariff is calculated as a percentage of the product's value and is collected at a designated port of entry. For example, if a US retailer imports $10,000 worth of goods from China and a 25% tariff applies, the retailer must pay $2,500 in tariffs to US Customs, making the duty paid price $12,500. The importer may then pass these costs along the supply chain by raising prices for wholesalers, distributors or consumers. The transaction value from China remains at $10,000. The exporter doesn't have to pay any tariff. This process clearly shows that it's American businesses and ultimately American consumers who will bear the financial burden of tariffs, not the exporting country. There is a scenario where an exporting country's businesses might effectively pay some of the tariff, and this is when they lower their prices to remain competitive in the US market. For example, if demand for a product is highly price sensitive and alternative suppliers exist, an exporter may reduce its profit margins to absorb part or all of the tariff cost to maintain sales volume. In the same example as earlier, the exporter could reduce the cost of the $10,000 transaction to $8,000. The importer pays 25%, but the price of the goods to the importer is still $10,000. However, this is not guaranteed and depends on specific factors such as the level of competition in the market. If no alternative suppliers exist, exporters have little incentive to lower prices. It does depend on profit margins. Exporters with slim margins may be unable to absorb additional costs, and it depends on product demand. For essential or highly desirable goods, goods with inelastic demand, US importers are more likely to accept higher prices and pass them on to consumers. In most cases, exporters don't absorb tariffs because doing so would hurt their profitability. There is one other scenario where the exporter would effectively pay the tariff, and that's where the US customer is quoted a delivered price in the US. In this case, the Chinese exporter would also be the US importer of the product. Thus, it's not being charged as the exporter, it's being charged because it's the US importer. Trump's misunderstanding has significant implications for both policy and public perception. New tariffs most likely mean one thing: rising costs for Americans. Tariffs increase prices for imported goods, and this is likely to lead to inflationary pressures as business pass these costs on to consumers. Trump is either being dishonest or he genuinely doesn't understand that tariffs are paid by US importers, not foreign governments or exporters, and their costs ripple through supply chains to ultimately affect American consumers and businesses. Trump's repeated claim that other countries pay tariffs reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of trade policy mechanics. If you found this information useful, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.